contest.
And we're underway with Terry Lamb starting proceedings. And there's the new man in the club, Coleman, getting it away straight away. Coleman, of course, originally listed as a fresh reserve, but with the reshuffling of the South Sydney side, finds himself in the first 13. Expect some fiery exchanges up front. The South Sydney try to clear from their own quarter line. Here's Olchen. Immediately a penalty over Canterbury. Those players in front of the kicker. So Canterbury will get the first penalty of the match, and Lamb will try to find touch. And he finds it just short of the halfway mark. Now what can the Bulldogs do? Sargent gets about 8 metres inside the South Sydney half, and again another penalty will go. It'll be Les Davidson who's been called out. Les Davidson in there.
Well, the State Bank replay just sees him getting a little bit fierce, and there he's still mouthing off at the referee, but all quiet in the Western front.
So the Bulldogs come up with the penalty. And now the tap from inside the quarter line. Again, pressure for South Sydney as Sargent is caught only about 20 metres out. Mortimer's gone straight through his legs and touched by a South Sydney player, so the tackle count restarts. And it's Thomas who will play it. Now Tunks. At 18 metres out. Mortimer showing the dummy and getting it to Gillespie, who couldn't handle it. It's been picked up by Bronco Jura for South Sydney. And he too is caught now on his own quarter line. Fennick from dummy half. Made 5 metres. He's slow to get to his feet. And again another penalty, this time to South Sydney, as the Canterbury defence up inside the 5 metres.
And it's a very groggy Mario Fennick. He copped a very heavy hit from Steve Folkes and Gillespie. And he obviously took a knock to the head, well and truly in Disneyland, the South Sydney skipper. Just have a look at the head. Well, what a swinging arm from Peter Tunks. Welcome him to the Sydney Football Stadium.
So Souths hit the penalty and fine touch just inside the Canterbury half. Ellison taps and kicks straight away. Sends Olchen back for it. He's 10 metres out from his own line. Caught by Jura. He'll play it just about 18 metres out. Well, nowhere to go there. Mortimer getting a pass to Lamb. Again, using the kick early. Turning Souths around. Here's Maven with the ball right on the halfway mark. The defence holds him. Now Coleman. 10 metres inside the Canterbury half. Davidson. Fennick seems to have recovered okay. Chisholm now. 35 metres out. Coleman. A grubber kick for touch, but it's not, well, it's not for touch, it's for Olchen, in fact. Short on runners chasing that as Olchen is able to get out about 15 metres before he's put down. Mortimer. Now Folkes, right on the quarter line. Lamb to Gillespie. Trying to bump off one, get it back to Lamb. Which is who's going to kick that ball. Finally got a long ball out to Folkes, and now running strongly was Darren McCarthy. Back inside goes Paul Dunn, but that was a solid hit on him. Last tackle now for the Bulldogs. Mortimer, the switch of play. And he finds touch. 18 metres out.
Yes, Lamb showing on the State Bank replay that he hasn't lost touch with that right boot of his. up along the sideline about 18 metres. A very good kick.
And still early days, both these sides feeling each other out in defence. The kicks trying to get out of their own territory on very early tackles. DeJura, good footwork just outside his own quarter line. Phil Blake motioning his forwards to come around. David Boyle accepts the instructions. Strong defence from Joe Thomas. Les Davidson on the charge, straight at the Canterbury defensive line. Well, and plenty of feeling. Threatening to erupt Mario Fennick with plenty to say to Peter Tunks.
Well, look at Davidson, the State Bank replay. Comes in, lifts the knee. That's the thing that brought him a little bit undone. He's got a bit of a right-hand forearm jolt from Paul Dunn. But Davidson's going to have to watch that charge that he does, because a few players have been cautioned by referees in recent seasons when lifting the knees coming into the tackle.
Well, the penalty has gone South Sydney's way. Ellison to look for touch. Bill, we've only just seen on the one occasion Canterbury stretched the ball wide and they caught South Sydney out.
Yes, they did. South Sydney notorious for poor adjustment in defence in the centres. I think you'll find Canterbury work the ball to the centre and then look for advantages down the edges, down the sidelines of the field. The other thing, Graham, is I think you'll see South Sydney really test this new Canterbury fullback, Jason Alchin. He's only tiny. They'll put plenty of bonds up to him and try and get over the top of him.
Well, they're just working a way through the forwards, just outside the Canterbury quarter line. We'll soon see if they'll test Alchin out. DeJura, shaped as if he might have looked for the kick for the outside backs, just went alone. This time it's Ellison from dummy half. He looks and finds Mario Fennick. Short gap, but it quickly closed. Peter Tunks was the man that came to grips with Fennick. Coleman now. There's the kick for the outside backs. It's for the wing of Adam O'Neill. And he wraps up Sandy Campbell. Well, McCallum has got him for being offside. Just in front of the kicker. It was a line ball.
Well, we're not going to be able to judge on this, but if he was onside, he's one of the fastest players in rugby league. There wouldn't be any doubt about that, but the referee was on the spot and ruled him offside.
Very quick in his decision, McCallum. Trying to crib a few yards is Joe Thomas. The restart. Mortimer into the dummy half roll. Dunn. Heavy tackling in the forwards. Mortimer with a little chip kick. Tunks is the man that's tried to run through and read it. It was just far too short though. Andrews coming up with possession. DeJura. Chisholm. Look back inside. Well, he's going to call some players out here. Chisholm copped a bit of a serve from a couple of players in that tackle.
Here he is, Chisholm on the State Bank replay coming through. There's Tunks winding up to give him one, and does. And that might certainly get him a caution. Whether or not it's going to be 5 minutes in the sin bin, he's been threatened with it.
Well, he's the Canterbury skipper today, but it hasn't curbed his aggression in the front row. Mean-looking Peter Tunks today. It
sets the scene, really, doesn't it? I mean, if your captain's doing that sort of thing, it's a fair game for everyone else to have a go.
30 metres out. Ellison. Met it very confidently. Good start for the goal kicker this afternoon. And South Sydney to the lead. 2-0 over Canterbury.
And Boyle. And across to Darryl Neville. Boyle again from dummy half. Last tackle now for South Sydney. And he's ruling that he's lost it. So a scrum will go down about 30 metres out.
Boyle's one of the players in the South Sydney pack, and there are others too that you can expect no histrionics from when something goes wrong. He dropped the ball, he got up and got on with the job.
Scrum work by Mortimer. Here's Lamb. Has to get on the outside of Dura, but Dura hangs on to him. McCarthy. 3 South Sydney defenders to him. Now Tunks. And big pardons there as Tunks ran onto the ball. And Thomas slipping the ball up nicely, and it finally up to Sandy Roberts, and he's in to score. Sandy Campbell will get it in a minute. Sandy Campbell in the corner. Quick hands from Canterbury.
Yes, almost the perfect rugby league try that. They always run the outside of the defence. You can see the quick hands here. Thomas goes down on one knee as he's tackled, but gets the pass away before the hand or arm holding the ball came in contact with the ground. So the referee was completely right. Out there to Sandy Campbell, and Sandy Campbell's pace just put him on the outside of the defence. Again, we'll see it. The long cut-out pass, the pass that went to Thomas. Thomas is a useful player on the open. He got a pass away despite the fact that he was held. Gets it then on to Tony Curry, and Curry offloads it there to Campbell, and Campbell's in for a very good Canterbury Bankstown try.
Sandy Campbell, 21-year-old printer. Terry Lamb from way out. And bad luck for him. It's hit the upright. So the score remains Canterbury Bankstown 4 and South Sydney 2.
Ellison on the restart for South Sydney after a smart reply from the Bulldogs. Working away, as Bill Anderson mentioned before, the gaps coming out wide in the South Sydney backline. The try scorer, Sandy Campbell, back out to the quarter line. Forwards quickly on the run around. Peter Tunks heavily involved in this first half. Mortimer just about living in the dummy half role for the Bulldogs, trying to get these forwards started off the passes. Often missing the first runner, picking up a second man. Again, they search out wide for this weakness in the centres. Cut out balls. It was to Jura, the 5'8", that had to read that one to stay out wide. Again, he brings off the tackle, this time on Gillespie. Lamb down a short line side. The little kick will just roll into touch short of the halfway line. Plenty of chat from Greg McCullum. South Sydney come up with possessions. Jura, Neville tries to get outside Curry, who comes and picks him up low. Jura with no support. Just short of the halfway line and right in midfield. Ellison standing wide looking for runners, but that ball come off a rebound, accidental. Peter Tunks offside. The ball came at him very quickly.
Yes, it was a reflex catch, really. The ball came to him instantaneously before he could make up his mind up that he was in an offside position. He probably would have done the same had not come to him quite as quickly. Anyway, the penalty goes to South Sydney.
Give them a chance to pick up a good position on field play here, Ellison. This kick should put them down around the quarter line of the Bulldogs. Just outside, Davidson goes without it. Boyle solidly met by Thomas and Tunks. Chisholm through the forwards, just setting play towards the posts. Fans calling for the penalty. Fannick switch for Boyle, the dummy. 10 metres out now from the Canterbury line. The chant going up for South. Jura, that ball was knocked down by Darren McCarthy, and McCullum has picked them up for the knock-on.
Yeah, see it again on the State Bank replay. The pass was knocked down. McCarthy was quick, very quick to lob on it, but the referee will give the scrum feed to Coleman. Here he goes.
They try to work a move with Andrews in the lock-forward position. McCullum not happy, feet across from Joe Thomas.
And Mortimer handed the ball back there almost as if he was at a garden party. Did you see that?
Quick tap from Andrews, trying to catch Canterbury unawares. They were set. McCullum screaming at the Canterbury side to get back. Coleman. Out wide for Blake. They have the overlap. Great overlap. Long bottom. Simple. It just opened right up. Dummies and switches of play, and the pace of Blake straight out to his long bottom through a yawning gap to come up with South Sydney's first try.
A beautifully worked try, a try that's obviously been put under the microscope at training. There were players running in different directions, but the long cut-out pass there to Longbottom was the one that really put that man with the pace into the clear. And didn't he love it? Stood on his head at the end of it. Now see it from here. You've got a player coming across the ruck. He doesn't get it. Out it goes to Blake. Blake looks on the outside, pumps the ball out to Longbottom. He goes straight and hard. Lamb dives at him. It looks like the fullback there too Alcham was there in time, but unable to stop his momentum, and he gets the ball down. Good try.
Well, you were talking about gardeners, Rex, a landscape gardener, Bruce Longbottom, coming up with the try for South Sydney.
Yes, I was talking about garden parties, but I'm a bit appalled, shocked to see Mortimer being so beautifully mannered to hand the ball to Coleman there a little while ago.
100%. Very confident kick, the first one from Allison. Well, he hasn't struck that one quite so well, so the score will stay the same. South Sydney with a 2-point lead, 6-4 over Canterbury.
Lamb down for Phil Blake, straight to Phil Blake, and linking up with O'Neill. O'Neill's made an awful mess of it. It's been picked up by the Bulldogs. Gillespie has it.
Blake did very well to stop Gillespie getting a pass away there.
Loose passing from Canterbury, but Sargent's able to pick it up and take play back inside the South Sydney quarter. It's a fine run from him. He's only 12 metres out by the time he's grounded. Pressure now for South Sydney as Thomas runs from dummy half, and he's linked up with McCarthy. A pass that looked forward, was forward by a mile.
Yes, the State Bank replay just picks that up, and it was about 1.5 metres forward, that pass out to Thorne. Great misfortune for them, but the referee was on the spot.
And that's an excellent opportunity. Let slip by Canterbury. South to come up with possession. Both sides looking decidedly weak when the ball is flung wide. Well, he was picked up a few minutes ago, Terry Lamb, for losing the ball. Now for trying to take possession away from Jura. Ellison to look for touch. Well, that's a good kick too. 3-2 the scrums to the Rabbitohs. The penalty 7-4. Davidson. One-hander back for Fennick. Coleman quickly out Jura. Wrapped up by Lamb and Curry. Boyle. Longbottom. Two folks around his legs.
Yes, well, in the reserve grade, it was a very good late win to the South Sydney side by 26 points to 16. And they came up with a sound game too in the under-21, 16 to Canterbury 6.
And now they go wide in the top grade. Davidson finding Chisholm. Coleman on the blind, using up Phil Blake. And last tackle now for South Sydney. Coleman with plenty of time. Just puts that down to Alshan. Well, he fumbled it back into the end goal. Maven has accelerated. He beats him. And Maven comes back again. McCarthy trying to ease the pressure for the Bulldogs. Mortimer, a little dart from dummy half. Fennick in pursuit. And tries to drag him across touch. In fact, he does get a knee across the sideline. But McCallum felt that he was sufficiently held before being taken over the touch.
Yes, I am inclined to agree with him. Mario Fennick had him in the collar thing there, and they actually pushed his leg down on the line, so I think that was a justifiable penalty. They didn't make much out of the penalty. It was only a yard in from the sideline.
6-4 as the Bulldogs get another 6 tackles. And some treatment going in there from the Rabbitoh pack. It's brought the touch judge in. There was Chisholm, Davidson and Boyle all involved in that tackle on Mark Sargent. It'll be interesting to see who the touch judge calls out here.
Well, there's Sargent going hard and straight. And now, well, there's a little bit of head massage there from Boyle. It was probably the one that's going to get the main part of it. But he's not among the group being cautioned.
I think it was Les Davidson. In fact, Rex, the man that was called out for the hint of a headbutt.
Well, he had his head into his shoulder, and
He tried to lift it up.
whether he did or not, whether he deliberately intended a headbutt, I don't know. I think you've got every right to be judged to be innocent in those situations if you've gone in low down.
I think if he was in the ring, he might have got a warning from the referee.
If he'd in the ring and did that with Fenwick had battery.
Mortimer. Trying to dart and weave down the blind side. Sargent again now. Tracks the defence. Inside the South Sydney half. Folks. Lamb. Kicks for the deep in goals. Hoping that ball will stay in play. It looks as though it will. Curry's moving down quickly to try and trap Adam O'Neill, as is Terry Lamb. He beats Lamb. And just manages to get back in play. Good work from Adam O'Neill. Coleman. Met his match in Peter Tuggs. Neville. Using up plenty of tackles and only about 8 metres from their own line. Ellison. Quickly with the kick. It's a good one too. Rushing towards this touchline, but it bounces back. A good bounce on this occasion for Canterbury. Alshan beats Ellison. Can't beat Andrews. Mortimer calling for a quick ball for the backs. Campbell. Lamb. Looking to link up with Curry. Not to be. Campbell again. Wrestled to his feet. Thomas. Right on halfway. Tunks looking for support. Overhead pass. Folks was met subtly by Chisholm. And when he unloaded that ball from Mortimer, Cullen's seen a slight knock on by the Bulldogs. So the scrum to go down right in centre field.
There's South Sydney with it. Andrews will play it. Now Jura. Neville. Play just inside the South Sydney half. Chisholm. He's been doing a lot of work, that Chisholm.
It has. I don't think either pack's got over the top of the other one in this first half. I thought they might go on with it for 10 or 15 minutes, but they've been going at it very hard right from the word go.
Well, that ball bounced beautifully for Coleman. Great kick. Now, Davidson is not packing into this scrum. The scrum's not getting the chance to set. Davidson was standing well out of the pack. But in any case, the Rabbitohs get the penalty from the scrum. They get the penalty, but Coleman has had a bit to say. And still is. So the tap from just inside the Canterbury quarter. In fact, it's right on the quarter as Fenwick takes it. Here's Coleman, now Jura, and away to Chisholm. Coleman again. Back for Andrews. Jura. A lot of crisscrossing here. Ellison will play it. Davidson straight up the middle. Finally halted only about 3 metres out from the Canterbury line. Coleman, a long pass beautifully picked up in quick hands from the long bottom. O'Neill having difficulty picking it up. Some very quick handling out there. The scrum set for the knock-on by O'Neill. He's having an awful lot of trouble with these scrums, isn't he? Penalty's gone to Canterbury. Just 10 metres out from their own line. So Lamb is able to find touch. About 35 metres out. Now here comes Tunks. Fennick around his ankles. Some rather poor handling, but no knock on. Sargent. And he's lost it behind him. 6 tackles, restarted, touched by Canterbury. Thomas turning it back inside for Curry. And Mortimer. Good pass to link up with Paul Dunn. Back inside for Olchin. And play inside the South Sydney quarter now. Pressure for the Rabbitohs as the Canterbury Bulldogs spin it out to Lamb. A one-handed pass along the ground, picked up by Sargent. Across field to Olchin. Back for anyone. Mortimer's got it. Olchin. McCarthy. Long pass to Robin Thorne. And Thorne is in to score.
Well, that's going to be an interesting decision to see if, in fact, if Mortimer did pick that ball up cleanly. That's the key to this one. Steve Mortimer, when the pass came back from Steve Folkes.
Well, let's just watch it on the State Bank replay. The start of it is Lamb cutting through and then throwing the ball anywhere. It's picked up by Sargent. Throws the ball to Thomas. They go through. Olchin's there. Folkes gets it. Drops it now. Look at, did he knock it on? There was a player's head in the way there. I couldn't see that. Anyway, the ball goes out to Thorne. And Thorne goes in for the try. We'll see it from another angle and we'll see exactly what it'll show. Again, Lamb going through, passing to nobody. It goes to ground at that point. It's picked up by Sargent. Out to Thomas. Thomas gets it away to Olchin. Olchin to Folkes. Folkes drops the ball behind him. Now there's Mortimer, again, on the ground, directly behind somebody. It's a bit hard, isn't it? And the long pass out to Thorne to go in for the try. Well, here we might get to see it on this. It was one of those little tiny things that could make a referee look bad, and we'll have to just wait and see on this one. Here it comes again now shortly. Here's Folkes. He drops the ball behind him. Does the ball get knocked on by... Well, I don't believe it did. I don't believe it did. I believe he put his hand on top of the ball. We'll log that as a good decision by the referee. But meanwhile, the goal's been kicked.
Beautiful kick it was from the touchline. Beautiful kick from Terry Lamb. And it's now 10 points to 6. Canterbury over Souths.
Restart from Ellison. For Curry now to bring this ball out for the Bulldogs. Plenty of ball movement in the game in this first half. McCarthy. As these sides continue to try and catch each other out wide. And both these sets of forwards determined to get on top of each other. Lamb looking for touch. It's going to be a good kick too.
State Bank replay showing that Terry Lamb's still got the boot going nicely. When in doubt, kick out, and he's doing very well with it, making plenty of yardage.
Well, both these forward packs determined to come up with big hits on each other.
Yes, they are, Graham. They're not content just to put the ball down, but of course there's a necessary offshoot of that, and that means that they're going to miss some tackles. If you go in to hit someone hard, not just to put him down, you are going to miss the odd one, and that's happening.
Do you think there should be a little bit more support for the forwards around the rucks when they're carrying the ball?
Yes, the forwards are getting tired, but it's been a game played at a frantic pace, and I suppose they can't be in two places at once, but it's out wide, like South Sydney here. That's where the game's going to be won and lost, that allied with kicking game and keeping possession.
Well, they had the advantage out wide, but it was the forwards that were carrying the ball. Lacking a bit of speed out there. Again, they swing it wide. Dejura, Neville. Nowhere to go on the last tackle. Coleman. He's got support. He hasn't elected to kick. Longbottom. Back infield for Maven, who couldn't handle it. Having trouble with the hands today. Second major mistake he's come up with his hands, Steve Maven. Nearly half-time. Neither side can afford any mistakes at the moment. Dunn just settling play down. Mortimer doing a lot of talking to the forwards. Gets Gillespie to come off him this time. pass by Alshon. Campbell taking on Adam O'Neill. He has Curry backing up. The pass was going for Curry, but it's gone astray again. So still is that time for South Sydney to come up with something just before the break. Coleman, the dummy. Now he finds Neville. He looks for support. Wisely hangs onto the ball. Coleman switching play for Jura. They've got some numbers if they can shift it. Blake sights an opening up the middle. Back out for Andrews. Blake again. Curry's there to wrap him up. There'll only be time for one tackle. Should bring a halt to the play in the first half. The long ball from Jura. Finds Chisholm. Wrapped up by Darren McCarthy. And that'll see the end of the action in the first 40 minutes. A lead to Canterbury Bankstown by 10 points to 6 over South Sydney.
Welcome back to the Sydney Football Stadium. State Bank big game with the half-time score. Canterbury Bankstown leading South Sydney by 10 points to 6. No changes to either side, I understand, Billy Anderson?
No changes. Both sides' coaches, George Piggins and Phil Gould, were concerned over the number of handling errors. They felt that the team that's going to win this one will be the one that controls the ball the best. George Piggins also stressed the necessity for his backline to get a bit deeper. He thinks there are opportunities out there. Phil Gould's team, the Bulldogs, they're going to use a big kicking game. There's a slight breeze in their favour in this second half.
And we're underway with that second half as Ellison gets things underway. Straight down to Alshon. Campbell's with him. First half tacklers, Boyle and Fennick showing the way for Souths. And Folkes and Sargent, the best of the Canterbury defenders.
There was a big first half from Steve Folkes. I kept my eye on Folkes. Whenever Les Davidson was on the charge, whenever he was trying to look to unload for supports, Folkes was always going up high to try and make sure he didn't get that pass away.
Well, Lamb sending this down to Phil Blake. And immediately Blake attempts to put it back, but it was touched in flight by a Canterbury player. Tunks can't pick it up. Who's got it? Fennick's got it for South Sydney. Now, what will the Rabbitohs do? Here's Jura. Just inside the Canterbury half. Penalty's gone to Souths. Canterbury up inside the 5 metres. Well, Ellison, I suppose, will have a shot for... Yes, he's decided to have a shot for goal. He's right in front, but he's a little way out. Here's Ellison's attempt. Well, he's hit it magnificently. Beautiful kick from Ellison. It brings South Sydney to... Yes, it brings South Sydney to within 2 points of Canterbury. It's 10 points to 8.
Just the 2 points in it. 10-8 in favour of the Bulldogs. Chisholm, he's lost it. Been recovered by Longbottom. The advantage still to be played. Lamb now in possession for Canterbury. Plenty of yardage lost for Canterbury, but they have possession. Mortimer out of dummy half looking for the gap. Links up with Curry. Couldn't get the pass away. Neville was in between he and the outside backs. Mortimer again running a lot more from dummy half now, trying to link up with players. Gillespie. Well, that long ball went to nobody. Longbottom, the try line. Lamb's coming across. Is he going to get there? He does. He was coming across. Longbottom nearly ran out over touch himself, I think.
State Bank replay. Longbottom scoops up a drop ball and takes off. And I think he's made an error. I think he should have kicked back inside. Certainly should have stayed away from the sideline because Lamb was always going to get him.
He didn't really try to put any pressure on the tackle of Lamb. Just got him by that last step, though. Mortimer. Campbell with very, very little room to move. Joe Thomas. Back for Dunn. Very bunched this Canterbury side. Alshon. Now they're out of their quarter. Sargent. Bill, do you think Mortimer's going to the dummy half position far too much?
Far too much he is, Graham. Joe Thomas is a player that's played some hooker and he's doing a good job for Canterbury, but he's not getting into dummy half as much as I'd like. The reason Canterbury's bunched is basically they don't have a consistent first receiver. That's where Mortimer's got to be. He's got to get his forwards working off him.
Well, they've come up with a good yardage through that kick from Terry Lamb, though, South Sydney. Right back on their quarter line now. This is where both sides have not really been holding possession the way they should be. They've been coming up with a number of mistakes. Davidson shaping to pass. Boyle bounces off Gillespie, but Joe Thomas wraps him up. The ball played 40 metres out. Blake with the kicking game, looking for touch into the Canterbury quarter line. Alshan's going to beat the ball to touch and bring it back. He's going to have the support. Well, he runs away from his support and brought down on his own quarter.
That's what he's playing it. Now Canterbury holding that 2-point lead. He's content to work things upfield before they put something on. Here's Sargent. Caught by Ellison. Lamb returning the kick now. Blake is there for it. Can't beat the tackle of Curry though. He'll play it just 5 metres short of the halfway mark. Adam O'Neill, good run. Excellent run from O'Neill. Coleman, now Dura. Long floating ball for Longbottom. Read though by Thorne and McCarthy. Here's Dura again. Fennick and Boyle slipping it back nicely for Coleman. Coleman's linking up now with O'Neill. O'Neill to the quarter line. Things starting to liven up for South Sydney as Fennick links up with Coleman and then to Davidson. And Davidson is giving a pass to Ellison. Ellison crashed to the ground. Last tackle now. Penalty has been given to South Sydney and the fans boo as Fennick charged over the line.
Well, Mario's looking in amazement. I think you'll find on the replay that the penalty was given and all the players had come to a halt. See it for yourself. The penalty's already been given there.
Mario Fennick charges off. He's done what I used to do during my career. I scored some superb tries after the whistle had gone. Absolutely superb. Not many when the play was on, but plenty in that area. Now, Mario was milking it there on that occasion. He's got no right to do that. The penalty had been awarded.
Mark Ellison's record today, 2 from 3. This one from in line with the right hand upright, and Bronco Dura's in trouble down the back being attended and being up from the field. As Ellison's kick is straight between the posts, and we've got a football game that is all tied up. 10-all between South and Canterbury. Bronco Dura in trouble on the sideline as Lamb recovers. What's the story, Bill?
Michael Blake wearing 27. He's going to the sideline now. Dura will be in the head bin, and Blake's a very solid player.
Okay, Dura in the head bin. The game all square. And South Sydney in possession. 32 metres out. A crowd here of almost 19,000 people today. 18,835 to be precise. Now Olchen running across to cut this off, but the ball takes a wicked off break and beats him into touch.
Yes, it's a pretty useful kick, this one. Lands about 10 metres in, takes the big break. Wish we had a spin bowler that could do that for the Australian cricket team, but it's a good one, a good game.
So the scrum down about 25 metres out. Gone with the feed. Here's Lamb. Curry intercepted South Sydney on the charge, but again that ball was touched by Canterbury and they've able to thwart another South Sydney raid. Nail-biting stuff. Just short of the quarter line now. Here's Tunks. Sargent. Good run from Sargent.
He's put in a big effort today.
And there's Paul Langmack called to the sideline as Mortimer's kick is downfield for Maven. Maven got away from Lamb, but ran into trouble. The word from the sideline is that Mark Sargent is the player who will be replaced in the Canterbury side. Here's Davidson. Wrapped up, 35 metres out from the South Sydney line. Fennick from dummy half. Lost the ball, picked up by Robin Thorne. Almost got away.
Tackled by Maven again.
And it was required because he can move. Well, he's offside. Mario says thanks for the pass to Steve Mortimer. He looks in amazement, but he was only still just coming back onside. Have a look for yourself.
Yeah, State Bank replay. Really, there he is. He's so far offside. He was numbered among the Canterbury players, actually. So that's unfortunate for Mario, but it's a penalty to Canterbury.
And a much-needed penalty. South with the team that starting to get onto a bit of a roll. Canterbury Bankstown looking very, very tired. Langmack is the fresh man still on the sideline trying to get on. For this man, Mark Sargent, taking the ball up. Bouncing off tackles. Setting up play for Canterbury. There's those handling errors. 13 to Canterbury, 11 to Souths. Folks, Mortimer on the run around for Paul Dunn. Pops the ball up for Gillespie. Picked up by Longbottom. Longbottom stretching away. Campbell's chasing. He's cutting him down. Longbottom towards the quarter line. Great tackle from Campbell. Quick play of the ball now for South Sydney. It's been kicked into play of the ball and into touch. And McCullum to bring it back for the penalty for South Sydney.
Yes, that was a magnificent sprint. The best of rugby league, that was. The best of possible rugby league. A great sprint by the player Longbottom and a perfect tackle there coming in from Campbell, who grasped him. The attempt to kick the ball dead was not on because he'd come in from around the side. Another kick for Ellison. This will put South Sydney in front if they can get it. Long way out.
Phil Gould, the man with the problems now for Canterbury Bankstown. They were looking tired. They've made a lot of mistakes. A ton of action now from one end of the field to the other in the last few moments. Ellison to take this kick from touch. He thanks the effort from Mark Sargent. Let's see what Paul Langmack can come up with now. Man trying to recapture his form that saw him go away with the Kangaroos in '86. There he is there. Man noted for his ball skills. He's got to work something with these Canterbury forwards.
Rumours abound that Langmack won't be staying with the Canterbury Bankstown side next year.
Well, he's here for the remainder of this second half.
That's obvious.
Ellison from touch. 3 from 4. Oh, he's met that superbly. Great goal from Ellison. It's taken South Sydney to the lead. The Rabbitohs 12-10 over Canterbury. Word is the Bronco Juror won't be coming back. Heavily concussed.
Now what can they do with it? Lamb. Beautiful tackle. There's Neville around the ankles. Canterbury still on the attack. Back for Mortimer. For Thomas. Back for Langmack. But the South Sydney defence working very well. Gillespie, oh, lovely tackle. 6 tackle now for the Bulldogs. Lamb puts the bomb in the air. Up they go for it. Blake's taken it beautifully.
Yes, you can't doubt Blake's courage on a situation like that. He took that perfectly, really turned his body to the side and took the impact of Lamb coming through. It was a perfect take. Just great.
So now South Sydney with that 22-metre tap restart have used up 2 tackles. Neville chasing Loon on the sideline. We understand to replace Steve Maven at the first opportunity. Here's Fennick.
South Sydney getting away with a few one-handed little passes now, short ones. A little bit more adventurous.
That kick is a beautiful one. One bouncing over the touchline.
Yes, Mark Ellison comes up with an absolute ripper there. I mean, that's got to be the kick of the day for Territory. It covered about 45 metres. Touch judge in at the moment.
That's for the change, the replacement. Maven off.
On the field, yeah.
And Jason Moon on. Scrum work by Mortimer for Canterbury. He's gone with the feed. Here's Lamb. Around the ankles was Neville. Now Langmack. Sandy Campbell. Good run from Campbell. He's beaten 3 tacklers. Very good run. Tunks. Getting it away to Folks. Let's check the scrums and penalties. Scrum 7-5 to Canterbury. 12-9 the penalties favour Souths. And here's McCarthy over the halfway mark. Turning it back inside for Curry. Curry for the line. Defence gets there. Everybody sits down. And away goes Paul Dunn. Dunn's there. Paul Dunn in for Canterbury.
A magnificent try scored by Paul Dunn after some magnificent lead-up work by Curry. Here he comes on the burst. We'll see the full try again, but this was after the Curry run, and he surges to the line, and the defenders just can't hold him up. But here's the run. There's Curry getting the pass there from the support player and really sprinting. Now, he's one of the fastest players in rugby league. He goes well and gets to within about 8 metres of the line. Tackled, very well tackled by Moon, who came over the top. And as they get to their feet, here's the met with a sight of Paul Dunn coming like a runaway locomotive at X number of knots. And that was all that it needed. Paul Dunn, a good try.
Indeed. Good man with figures. Paul Dunn. Terry Lamb, with a 50% record today, has this difficult conversion. About 8 metres in from touch. Got it placed right on the 22-metre line. Lamb's conversion attempt from way out. Oh, it's a great kick. Beautiful kick from Terry Lamb. Sends the Bulldogs further in front. They lead by 16 points to 12.
So South Sydney will have to do it all over again. They were looking the better side in this second half, and Canterbury with that try coming from deep in their own play. And Bill, rather interesting that all started with Mortimer on one of the few occasions where he has remained first receiver.
Yes, and it also started way back in Canterbury's own territory, and they've shown themselves to be a lethal side this year, attacking from all points of the field. You could just feel the surge of play going against them, but Graham, it was all South Sydney. They were getting a roll on, and then, as they did in a game against Canberra this year, they just pulled out a great try, the Bulldogs, to get them back into it.
Well, they're not out of trouble yet. They can't afford any errors. Olsen finds a gap right up the middle. Maybe the tide is turning. South Sydney, the players now that have to lift and look for something extra. Lamb. Out wide, he'll go for Curry again. He's going to have the overlap if he can link with Thorne. Back inside for Lamb. There's still more numbers there. He's got it away to Dunn. Dunn's got support. Langmack back. Well, it's gone back to South Sydney. Well, a try gone begging for Canterbury. They kept on pushing passes. Now it's Souths. Plenty of excitement here at the football stadium. Adam O'Neill. Very tired sets of forwards. Whenever there's a long break on, it takes for ages for the forwards to get there. Longbottom. The back's called on to do plenty of work. Davidson. Coleman. He looks for a kick. Thorne's back. Takes a bad bounce. Just manages to keep it in play. Running away from Coleman. He'll beat him. Tries to straighten up. Met solidly by Andrews. Well, he didn't know where he was. He played the ball the wrong way. He just didn't know where he was. Great play of the ball for Souths. Ellison. Coleman. Keeping it alive. Switches play. Chisholm. The ball's going everywhere. Both both defences struggling now as they tire. Blake injects himself. He cuts through up the middle. Still going, Blake. Well, he looked inside for the flick pass and it went astray. So at either end of the field, play breaking down as tries were on.
Yes, a superb run from Phil Blake. Look at this here, but why, oh why would he do a flick pass at the end of it? It's such a critical thing, I'll never know. I mean, he's got abundant talent. He'd beaten about 4 men and made a gain of about 50 metres. Bugden's come onto the field for Canterbury Bankstown.
Mark Bugden on there for Canterbury. David Gillespie's the man that's moved to the sideline. Joe Thomas naturally will drop back into the second row. So they need plenty of fresh players out there. Tunks linking up with Langmack. Again, they've dropped it. Well, is it going to be an error through the hands? It's going to cost either of these teams. The crowd trying to lift South Sydney now as they search for a try to at least even the scores up.
South Sydney really applying the pressure. A pass to Davidson that was looked forward, but to play on, said the referee, as Chisholm takes it over the corner line. Can the Bulldogs sustain this pressure?
They're a mile offside out wide, Canterbury.
Now South Sydney with Michael Blake playing it only 15 metres out. Here's Coleman, the little kick ahead there for O'Neill, but the quick kick is going to find touch.
Yes, Coleman on the State Bank replay gets a little kick. He thought behind the Canterbury defence because they were so far offside in that previous move that they looked like they were in the South Sydney back line. And he thought he could get the kick in behind, but he couldn't.
Mortimer works it. It's gone with the feet. Coleman takes him. They're only 10 metres out from the Canterbury line. Campbell, caught by Fennick and Boyle. Lamb, caught by Ellison, right on the Canterbury 22. Tunks. Andrews was around his ankles. Again, the South Sydney defence working in pairs. Mortimer. Down for Moon. Oh, Moon's made an awful mess of it.
Oh, I can't believe it.
He said knock back.
Well, that's a poor decision, I believe, from Greg McCullum.
Well, let's have a look.
There it goes. He's knocked that ball sideways and forwards. There's no question about it, in my view. But we're a long way away from here.
Now, South Sydney desperately trying to get back into this game. Blake takes it up and gets a penalty. Done up inside the 5 metres. And Ellison will try to find touch.
He needs a good touch finder here. They're running out of time. They've got to get themselves set and play some football in Canterbury Bankstown's half.
Well, he's found it about 10 metres inside. 16-12 the score. Canterbury leading by 4. Boyle. Davidson. A one-handed pass back for anyone. North South Sydney reserves getting ready, Bill.
Yes, Harrington getting ready. He'll be taking the place of Chisholm, who's got the ball now, and Lyons will be going on. Neville will be the player to come off. Lyons is in 19.
Here's Coleman. And Blake. Blake to the corner line. Still going. Still going. The long ball out for Adam O'Neill. O'Neill is just pushed into touch, but the pass has been ruled forward in any case. But exciting stuff at the football stadium.
It's going to be an interesting one to see. We won't pick it up from this angle. Blake wheels a pass out there to O'Neill, and the little fellow did everything he could possibly do, but it was all too late because the referee had called it forward back there about 7 or 8 metres before.
Well, again, they're having trouble with these scrums, and he's been having trouble all day, trying to get them set. They've been moving off the mark, screwing around. As Mortimer works it, again, no problems, gone with the feed. Caught by Andrews. Now Lamb. over the quarter line. Tunks runs into Davidson. 32 metres out from the Canterbury line. And Lamb sends it downfield. Moon's waiting for it. Oh, and it's going to beat Moon. Well, Moon has only been on for about 10 or 15 minutes, but he really has had an awful period, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. He's withered and dithered and stumbled and fumbled around, and that occasion there, it's going to cost him a lot of acreage. And he probably felt he couldn't go there for the ball on the risk of touching it and knocking it over the sideline. That's probably the motivation behind it, but why? I don't know.
Well, he was lucky to get away with that, what we thought was a knock-on before. South coming up with possession. Lions rushing off tackles out wide. The bounce comes up well for Michael Blake. Out to Adam O'Neill. Having to go back infield, nowhere to go. No Shepherd, says McCallum. Still going. Crossfield O'Neill linking up with Lyons. Ball's going everywhere here. Still going, Lions. Players dropping off tackles. They're so tired. Phil Blake showed before he nearly set up that try for South Sydney. He's got to get involved with his pace. The little men can take over the game. Coleman, Fennick. Off the ground. He wasn't tackled. Gone astray. Canterbury come up with possession. Time running out for South. They really do have to keep trying to force this football. Langmack flicking it. 16-12 the Bulldogs over the Rabbits. Halshin. Mortimer directing traffic there at dummy half. Trying to get some more effort out of his players. McCarthy. "30 metres out. The Bulldogs clinging to this 4-point lead. Folks, certainly one of Canterbury's best forwards today. Tunks. Just killing play. Last tackle. Will they search for a field goal even, or just try and keep play down here? Mortimer, switch for Lamb. Lamb trying to link up with Langmack. Flicks it out for Langmack. He just offers the pass for Boyle, though. Didn't look where he was throwing that one to. So this game is still alive. South's going wide straight away. Davidson. Lyons. Tackled by Mortimer. Canterbury players aren't off him yet. Davidson. Well, they still look for Phil Blake. He's got to get involved. Harrington. Lions. Can South finish the stronger? Canterbury certainly looking tired in defence. Boyle trying to run away from Lamb. The flick pass back for Michael Blake. Now it's with Phil Blake. Wrapped up. Well, was he tackled? No, says McCallum. Adam O'Neill. He keeps it alive. South still going. Well, he's going to call a penalty.
Yes, it's a penalty gone against young O'Neill for passing the ball off the ground. Here's what it was alleged. Well, I am inclined to agree with him on a technicality. The back of his hands, the hand holding the ball, had touched the ground, so that's that.
Well, it's interesting. Straight after the Phil Blake one was the pass before. I thought Blake was more tackled than Adam O'Neill.
Well, the rules are very specific about that. I'm just referring to the rule book there. It's quite specific. The hand or arm comes in contact with the ground, or the forward progress to stop the man is tackled.
Canterbury to kill the time now. Inside the South Sydney quarter line. 3 tries to 1 advantage, but still in danger of maybe losing the game. Mortimer. Langmack on a short line for Dunn. Knocked down, back to Langmack, 6 more, he's got support. Campbell, try to Canterbury, in touch, says the touch judge. He's put a foot in touch. Would have been the game.
Sensations here as Langmack almost pulled a game breaker right out of it. But there's the touch line and there's the foot over the sideline, no question about it. The good decision by the touch judge, Sandy Campbell. And it was of course, the fullback that got him over the sideline.
Good decision by the touch judge. Adam O'Neill coming alive out of the dummy half. 16-12. Only minutes to go. The pass goes astray for South. They've got to send it wide. They've got to keep it alive. Out the back. Ellison. Coleman. Long ball. Touched by Canterbury. 6 more tackles. But they're deep in their own territory. desperate defence by Canterbury, and the last throw of the dice for South Sydney. Maybe into the last minute, Harrington breaks out of his own quarter line. Quick play of the ball required.
Absolutely critical now, a quick play of the ball and movement of the ball quickly.
Canterbury are short out wide. They've got some numbers. They need somebody charging on. Lyons is charging on. He drags it back in. If he can look outside, he had Longbottom in support. Well, they're going to shift it. They've got numbers again. Oh, Allison has knocked on. But McCallum's going to get Paul Dunn for interfering in the play of the ball. They're not done with yet. There it was. He was reaching across to the dummy half. The crowd coming alive at the stadium. Last minute of the game. Boyle. Only seconds to go. There it is. No more action. Canterbury Bankstown have run out the winners. A thriller at the stadium.
Some